Hey everybody, Licameli here. Today, it's a very serious video, and I have something to tell you. The name of the series is called I Was Wrong. I Was Wrong. That's right. That's the name of the new series of videos that I'm going to kind of be putting out here. And I was wrong, sort of. As I look back on some of my videos, I feel the need to kind of revisit some topics and kind of call myself out a little bit and add some corrections or a little comments here and there just to clarify how things have changed and how my perspective has changed since then. There's always that risk of things changing, but the piece that you write or the video that you make is constant. That's always going to be there, regardless of how you change, how science changes, how anything changes. You never know. You just never know what's going to come out, what's going to change. And the last thing that I and pretty much anyone I think would want to do is put out misinformation. So the purpose of my channel and everything that I do is I want to be the resource that my younger self would have found value in and would have benefited from, because so many others have been that role for me, and I want to be that role to others. So this series is going to be called I Was Wrong, and here we go. Okay, so this video is all about how tight hip flexors, or the iliopsoas, is pretty much the #1 reason why people have low back pain, and that's just not correct. The title of the video, I think, was something like #1 reason why you have low back pain, and that's kind of just a misleading title. Kind of leads to that quick fix mindset, almost like a salesperson, like a sales pitch or like clickbait. And this is like the second video I ever recorded, so keep that in mind. But the way it starts out here in the opening seconds here, it almost sounds like an infomercial, like I'm trying to sell something, and that's just kind of weird. Hey everybody, Dr. Nick here on Feel Good Friday. Do you have low back pain? Do you have a problem engaging your glutes? Do you have a problem feeling your lower abs during ab exercises? Today I'm going to teach you how to stretch a muscle that could be causing all those problems. It's called your iliopsoas, your main hip flexor. Your iliopsoas attaches to the front of your spine in your lower back and down onto your hip. When it contracts, it's going to pull my spine forward and it's going to lift my hip, my leg up. It's also going to externally rotate my leg a little bit too. So that's a good description of the attachments of the iliopsoas and its function, how it can impact movement at the spine and the hip. In order to properly stretch it, we have to bring it into the range of the opposite of what it does when it contracts. So we're going to bring the leg back. We're going to bring our spine back, right? So we're going to go into a posterior tilt and a little bit of internal rotation, because remember, it also externally rotates the leg a little bit. So what that means is I'm just going to point my back foot a little bit toward the camera. Yeah, that's a good way to describe how to stretch it. And any muscle for that matter, you want to take it into its opposite of what it does when it contracts. And by doing a posterior pelvic tilt, bringing the hip into extension, and internally rotating that hip a little bit, you will most definitely be putting that iliopsoas on stretch completely. Okay, so my leg is here. I'm going to do that posterior tilt, and I'm going to lean forward. Okay, so my pelvis is tilted forward, and I'm feeling that stretch right here. What you don't want to happen is you don't want your back to arch, right? You don't want to do this kind of motion, because then your spine is getting pulled forward and the muscle's getting put on slack. That's a great point, and actually a pretty common error that I see in people who actually perform this stretch. When we stretch a muscle, we want to keep it stretched. We don't want to have any part of it on slack. That's how you fully stretch that iliopsoas. Add this into your routine today, and I guarantee you'll see the benefits. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The overall message of the video seems to be that if you stretch your hip flexor, you will not have low back pain anymore, and that's just not true. low back pain is multifactorial, and not one impairment like tight hip flexors is going to be the reason why a person has low back pain. Some questions I would ask myself are, how do I know what a quote unquote tight hip flexor feels like? How do I measure tightness? Because everyone is so different. So tight for one person is different for another person, and normal for one person is different from another person. So there's no real way to actually measure what quote unquote tightness is. My next question would be, so say I do stretch my hip flexor and I improve range of motion and some tightness. What does that do now? And how long will that last? These are all questions that I would have for myself. And the answers are pretty much that we can't measure tightness. All right, we don't know what that is because everyone is so different. Um, and even if I did increase the range of motion by stretching it, that would be very short-lived and almost like a short-term improvement, increase in range of motion. If you are going to use something like stretching or foam rolling, you want to kind of use it in conjunction with strengthening and kind of grooving a certain movement, whether it be a squat or a deadlift. You want to get that temporary relief or improvement in soft tissue extensibility, and then you want to load that tissue. That is going to help with long-term improvements. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you want, and we'll see you next time.